What's up, everybody? Well, I got another gameplay video for you guys today. And today, we're going to have a look at F1 22. So, we're going to obviously start on the laptop itself and just move up the resolutions till we get to 4K. So, we're all set up, ready to go. So, let's hop in and have a look at some settings, shall we?
Well, alright. Let's just have ourselves a quick look at these settings here. We're just going to look at the display settings first. And then we'll go look at the actual other settings. There's actually quite a few settings in this game to have a look at. Anyway, this is also where we can look at our DLSS and FSR, which we will do FSR at the end. But now, let's have a look at the ultra-low setting. Alright, we're going to start off on ultra-low, like we usually do. We always start off, at least on the laptop, at the lowest settings. Steam Deck, we do the opposite just for fun. We start the high settings, because I don't expect that thing to be able to run anything on ultra. It's more impressive when it can, you know? Alright though, why don't we hop in and look at the benchmark next? Alright, now, this doesn't have any way for me to like use a mouse or even my controller, so you could just look at these real quick. We got a minimum of 171, average of 224, and a maximum of 247. And then you can look at the rest of the info yourself. So now, it's time to go move into some actual gameplay. Well, starting off on ultra low. It's going to take me a little time to get used to driving in this game. I am not used to doing any F1 driving, that's for sure. Well, he got back in front of me, but let's see if I can't get back in front. Well, it looks like I'm pulling on him a little. Alright, go, go, go. Hell, I didn't even change the frickin' thing to miles per hour. It's still in kilometers an hour. Oh well, whatever. I don't really need to know how fast I'm going. All I need to know is stay on the track and be in first place. That's all I really need to know. I'm surprised it didn't yell at me. I guess I didn't have all four tires off, though. I think it just yells at you if you go with all four tires off, because you are kind of like skipping. So you should be penalized for it. Anyway, though, why don't we go and move on?
Alright. Looks like now we got ourselves a little camera gameplay here. Alright, let's go. Alright, as long as my two tires, all four tires don't go off, it's not corner cutting. Good to know. Man, this thing really bangs through the gears quick. Alright though, straightaway seems like a great spot to end, so let's move on to the next setting.
Now let's have a look at just low settings now. And I'm pretty sure all of this in here is licensed music, so I'm going to have to mute all of it, unfortunately. It'd be nice to have something in the background, but I already know I'll get yelled at by YouTube. Anyway, benchmark time. Benchmark just got done for low. So we got 142 minimum this time, average of 197, and a max of 230. And then you can just have a look at all the other various things on the screen for yourself. Obviously, if I go too fast, you can pause. But now it's time for us to move into the game. Well, alright. So, now we're on low. So let's see how it does. Well, that guy got ahead of me. Let's see if I can't get back ahead of him. This is a really tight track, so I don't know. I'm not that good on tight racing tracks. At least not with such a car. This thing's so quick and twitchy. Although he doesn't seem to have any problems. Come on, I want to get past it. Ooh, a tunnel. That should be fun. Yeah, I cheated there. They warned me. Oh, that sucked. Well, I'm definitely not getting ahead of him now. Oh well, I tried. I'm just not that great at this racetrack. I think this is Monaco. Definitely a frickin' tough track, that's for sure. Anyway, let's move on.
Well, alright. Now we got ourselves some low camera gameplay. I have an idea. How about you fuck off? Yeah, I did horrible at the qualifying because right at the beginning they're like, hey, we're going to just start you off basically slamming you into a wall, if that's cool. So I did really bad and placed like 22nd. Yep, you don't like it either, huh? You fucking piece of shit. Yeah, that's the guy who was like pit maneuvering me at the beginning. So yeah, I won't pit him one of these days. But I do not foresee myself winning. There's no room on this track to get through. What the hell are you supposed to do? You can't do anything. So yeah, F1 driver, I'm not. Oh, fuck it, I don't care.
I'm afraid you've been given a time penalty for that last incident, mate.
Oh darn, don't care. Alright, well, let's move on.
Alright, moving on to medium now. So let's just scroll through here. I'm actually kind of impressed this game's got ray tracing. Well, once we turn more of that on, it is for sure going to be pretty terrible FPS, I'm sure. Though I'll be happy as long as it's not like 10. Anyway, we just reached the bottom, so why don't we go see how it does in a benchmark? Well, now let's move on to medium benchmark here. It just got done, so we got 139 minimum this time, with 186 average and 227 max. So now, let's go run ourselves a little actual gameplay. Well, here we are in some medium gameplay now. Alright, let's see if I can do a little better on this track than I did on Monaco. Well, so far I'm ahead of the Ghost, so that's good. Just barely, but still ahead is ahead. Slow down, there we go. Back on the gas. Alright, let's see here. Man, this is a lot longer of a track. I had to let off a little there, or maybe I didn't, but I sure did. It seemed like I was going to go right into that wall if I didn't. Like that. Lucky that was just a little tap. Just a little tapper. Tap, tap, tapper. Although, I guess in real life that would probably make the tires of a thing like this just completely rip off. Man, where is the finish line here? Oh, I think it's coming up. Alright. Hey, I got first. That's much better than last time. So now, let's move on.
I'm amazed I didn't get like in trouble going off the track back there. It seemed to be very, whatchamacallit, stickler for the rules, but I imagine that's the case when you're in like open wheel cars where the slightest thing can like kill like many people. I don't know my kilometers per hour, but all I know is I'm whooping ass. Isn't it 0 to 60 something like 0 to 100 kilometers or something an hour? Sounds like this. I wish that we all just use the same shit. I get we're like the United States and we want it to be different, but sometimes it just seems a little silly. But alright, let's move on.
On to high settings now. So why don't we just scroll through these very quickly. Cacao. AMD Fidelity FX Cacao. Haha, awesome. Anyway, let's move on to bench. Well, benchmarks all finished for high, so we got 142 minimum this time with an average of 172, and we've maxed out at 198. And then you can enjoy the rest of the frame times and whatnot yourselves here, for it is time for us to go move on to actual gameplay. So let's go do that now. Well, alright, now it's time for some high gameplay now. Let's see if I can kick some computer ass. Well, it is just a qualifier, so I really just have to qualify well, but still, I still see it as kicking the computer's ass. But now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. If you can't remember what it was, it must not have been that important. Well, so far I'm ahead of him, so that's good. Oh, better slow down just a tad. There we go. I didn't go off the track. That's all that counts. Well, I'm definitely getting a lot better. Still taking some getting used to. F1 is not my forte. Never really done it before. And I still got like racing brake lines on. I just left the game completely alone the way it comes stock. Alright though. Alright, I did first on Silverstone. I like this track, so that's not too surprising. I've been around it many a time.
Well, alright, now we got some high gameplay here. See if I can do good on Silverstone. I actually know this track very well from other racing games, so I don't know if it's the exact same setup. There's a couple different versions of it. You can block sections off kind of like on Sebring. But I kicked ass on the qualifying, so I just gotta put that into the same thing here and do exactly what I did there. I just sucked at that Morocco place. That was sad. 22nd is what I ended up finishing on that one. And then I sat there and thought I was a bad driver, but it's like, now F1's just a little different. You gotta learn how to do it. So far, so good. I seem to be doing all right. As long as I can just keep doing what I'm doing. There we go. Gotta get better with this throttle control. Man, I remember just in normal cars trying to go around that corner back there after the finish line, and you could never go very fast, but this thing just flies around that corner. This is only an F2 car. I'm starting an F2. I didn't even do F1 yet. Since I haven't done any yet, I was like, well, I probably shouldn't start in the big boy car. I should probably start with the more training wheels approach. I'm glad I did. I probably would have just driven off the track a bunch and just lost every single one and gotten really angry. Because nobody likes losing. Not even angry, just down on myself. I'm sure you guys have seen that video. It's like, oh no, I'll never be able to do this. And then like, I try like 3 more times and I do it, no problem. Gotta stop doing that. But easier said than done. I've been doing that a bunch. So I just gotta get out of the habit. The habit's are hard to break. But as long as you put in the effort, you can do it. And that's what I've been trying to do. I think I've been doing a lot better in games. I don't think I've complained too much in some games, but at the beginning I sure did. Alright though, let's move on.
Well, now we are on to the ultra high settings. So let's have a quick look at them. As you can tell, it turns on all the ray tracing, so this is probably not going to end well. Hell, if we can average 60, I'll be impressed. It might be able to in the benchmark, but I seriously doubt it will in a real game with a bunch of cars around it. Well, it depends on the track too, but anyway, let's go run the benchmark, see what it says. Alright, ultra benchmarks all finished now, and we got a minimum of 51, so we dropped under 60. We did average 60 right on the dot, which is kind of funny. And then we maxed out at 71. So, yeah, in an actual game, I don't see this going quite well, but hey, we still have FSR, so that will solve our problems. Anyway, let's go see how it does, though, without that first. Well, here we are with some ultra-high gameplay now. And we are under 60 already, right at this beginning. Well, we're under 50. So yeah, we're definitely going to need some FSR, that's for sure. I don't think the recording is taking up that much FPS, if any. It's not like it always does. It just does in some games, which is why I do both camera and screen. Plus, it's kind of cool being able to see like what it would look like playing on the laptop and other screens too. I could have done better on that. I even went into the stones a little bit, but hey, I'm still in front of the other dude, ghost thing, so that's all that really matters. Man, this is a pretty long straightaway. And damn, these things can stop quick. But I guess they probably have insane brakes and they don't weigh like anything. Alright, is that another first? Yes, it is. So now, let's move on to the actual game.
Alright, now we're on ultra high settings, which turns all the ray tracing on. So if you're wondering where all of our FPS went, it went into ray tracing. As we all know from all my other videos, this laptop and AMD aren't good at ray tracing yet. Hopefully that will change with the next line of GPUs. We will see. I'm so glad I got pole position though. It would not be fun trying to get through those tight corners right at the beginning with like a bunch of other cars all trying to do the same thing. All I have to do now is not fuck up royally and have everybody pass me. Easier said than done when you're racing. Especially you get in your own head, think, oh, I can go a little faster. I can go a little faster around this corner. It's like, no, don't risk it. Just freaking go. Just slow down. If it looks like you're going slow around the corner, you're probably going around it as fast as you can. So far, so good, though. Go down a little bit. Woo! That was close. I got a little overzealous there, but we're good. And this game still has FSR as well, I just found out. So we still have a couple more settings to do after this. So we'll just leave ray tracing on. That's a perfect candidate. It's not quite playable. 48 FPS is not what I would call enjoyable for a racing game. Now, the benchmark tried telling me it averaged 60, but that's exactly why I do benchmark and actual gameplay. Because every track is going to be different and whatnot anyway. But we're getting quite a bit under average of 60 now, that's for sure. At least on this track. But I don't like that thing. Now I wonder if this is FSR 2.0 or 1.0. I guess we'll find out. I think the way to check, and this could be false, but I watched some YouTube video and it seemed to be true from what they showed me is FSR 2.0 only goes up to quality. FSR 1.0 has ultra quality. And it could be false, but he seemed to prove it with actual data and game settings and whatnot. So I'm willing to believe it. So I wonder what this game has. I guess we'll find out. There we go, much better that time. But I think it's time to move on.
Now we're going to move on to some FSR. So apparently this is FSR 1.0. I was wondering if it was going to be 1.0 or 2.0. So we're going to start off on quality. And then we'll just move on. I know I'm on the DLSS, but there we go. We're on AMD FSR quality. There is no ultra quality here, just quality. Instead, there's ultra performance, which looks ultra terrible as far as I'm concerned. So let's look at the rest of these settings. Other than having FSR on, we're leaving the game completely on ultra high because I feel like that's the best time to use FSR. You can't quite max the game out, but maybe with FSR you can. So now that we've reached the bottom, let's go run a bench. Benchmark for FSR quality just got done, and we got a minimum of 78, an average of 95, and a max of 107, so it definitely improved. I wonder if it'll make the game look like crap, though. FSR 1.0 can be kind of hit or miss depending on the game, so hopefully it doesn't look too bad, but it'll probably be decent on quality, okay on balanced, and crap on the other ones, but let's go find out. Well, here we go with some FSR gameplay now. We're starting off on FSR quality, and I can definitely tell a difference. But we are at least getting playable frame rates with ray tracing, so at least this doesn't look awful. But I can definitely tell something's going on when you start looking towards the background. Such is the life of FSR 1.0. At least FSR 2.0 is a lot better, which I kind of wish this game used. But they can maybe update it later. I don't know how that works. If it has to be like incorporated from the get-go, or if you can add that shit in later, but we'll find out. If it ever does update to FSR 2.0, I'll definitely do an update video. Speaking of which, I need to redo Deathloop, because that one got one. And God of War, I believe, got one as well. But still got plenty of other games that haven't been done at all to do first before I do something like that. Lots of Rolex ads. But I don't want a Rolex. Not that it's not a good watch, I just, A, don't need to flaunt wealth like that and have somebody crap me upside the head and steal it. Or B, I'm just not a watch person. I just don't like having a watch on my wrist. When I go out, I have a little cuff that I put on my right wrist just for fun, but for some reason on my left, I don't like having a watch on either one. Funny how that works. And besides, I can just look at my phone if I want what time it is. I feel like a Rolex is more of a status symbol, more than just a timepiece at this point. That's just my opinion.
Good job, mate. Really well.
Hey, and we got first. Hell yeah. So now let's move on.
Well, alright. Here's some camera FSR quality now. See how we do. I could have taken those a little better, but it's whatever. So far, so good. I'm starting to put a little bit of a lead on them. That was much better on that corner this time. And let's move on.
Well, benchmark for balance just got done, and we got 87 minimum this time with 106 for average. Our max was 119. So, little bit better FPS, but how much worse is it going to look for that very minuscule FPS increase? That's the question. Well, I guess we'll find out in a couple seconds here, won't we? Alright, now for some FSR balanced gameplay here. It really doesn't look that much worse than quality. A little bit worse, but not like, oh my god, terrible, terrible, terrible. You can just tell something's going on with both quality and balanced, but you want lots of FPS and having ray tracing on an AMD product, you got no choice but to use FSR or turn off ray tracing. You can't have best of both worlds. NVIDIA owns that field for now. I'm hoping the next iteration, though, will be at least good at ray tracing. It doesn't have to be the best and beat NVIDIA at it, but at least be maybe 10 FPS behind instead of being like 35 FPS behind, you know? And then they can also usually use DLSS. FSR is not in every game, although I've been noticing most games that do do both now if they can, which is nice. It's not always the case, but I've been noticing it more and more, and I like that. There's no reason why you should do one or the other, especially if FSR can be used on either GPU. Even if it's an NVIDIA-sponsored game, they'd be fools not to just, like, let more people be able to use their product better. But I guess sometimes the companies don't care about that. And they have their reasons for doing what they do. I don't always have to agree with them, but I'm sure they've got their reasons. Alright. Is that another win? Hell yeah. Well, let's move on then.
Well, alright, now we got some FSR balanced. Camera gameplay here. And I have realized I've been using too much time of this game up completing all these races, so unfortunately I'm going to have to just start stopping in the middle of races, which sucks when I'm like kicking their ass. It's probably going to put me in like last place, although maybe it'll just keep my qualifying podium every time and I'll always just start in first. I don't know, but I kind of looked at the clock and it's like, well, it's already been like about 2.5 hours of gameplay, and they only get 10 hours to test the game out since I don't own this one. This one's like you'd have to get EA Pro, and that doesn't come through in Xbox Game Pass, so screw that. But at least it gives me 10 hours to test games for you guys, which makes it perfect. But now if I use up all the time, so after about a minute and some change, I'm going to have to try to pay more attention to the time and just quit here and move on to the next FSR setting. Otherwise, I won't have enough time to do all the resolutions, and that won't be any good. I don't want to have to buy this game just to finish. This is probably a $60 game. And I know I'd have fun with it, but I still got so many other games to play right now. Like Stray and Elden Ring. I'm pretty much still, well, I haven't even played Stray yet, but I'm going to soon. I just bought it. I've been playing pretty much nothing but Elden Ring, leveling up, trying to find better gear. Whoop. Alright, it looks like it's time for us to move on.
Now for some FSR performance benchmark. We got 96 minimum this time, 116 average, and 127 max. So we got a little bit more, but how much worse is it going to look? Again, this is usually where it starts looking terrible. It's not a guarantee, but I'm just expecting this to look terrible. So let's go find out. All right. We got ourselves some FSR performance gameplay here. Starting off right at the beginning here. Let's go. And yeah, like I thought, this now looks pretty terrible. But we are getting a lot of FPS, so you can pick and choose if you want. For some reason, if your game look like it's a PlayStation like 4 game, maybe not even. That's more like almost PS3 almost in some ways. While still having ray tracing, then yeah, look no further. I just don't see the point. Although I guess I could turn ray tracing off and then like get insanely crazy high FPS just by turning ray tracing off, but we're not going to be quite that thorough. I tried doing stuff like that in one game, and that's too long of a video, and it gets way too hard to even do like timestamps for a game to fit, because you only got 5,000 characters for a description. But if you have an hour-long footage like I did with Icarus that one time, it does not work. So then that was all I needed, and never do that ever again. Maybe I still should have done at least FSR Ultra quality with no ray tracing, but if they can do this well with it on, I just feel like it can do even better with it off, so people would probably be happy with that. Alright, and there's the finish line. So let's move on.
Alright, now for some performance camera gameplay here. And as you can tell, it looks absolutely awful. But still, we'll just get ourselves a little gameplay here. And then we'll move on to ultra performance. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe I messed up. Maybe FSR 1.0 is the only one that has ultra performance. Or that guy was just full of shit and just happened to find a couple games to prove what he said, or seemed to prove what he said was right, because I already proved him wrong right here. Woo! Go around that corner. It takes a lot of concentration to drive an F1 car. Normally when I'm in a driving game, I feel like I can talk all the time, but half the time in this I'm just spending too much time trying to focus on cornering rather than saying anything. But I guess the most important thing is showing you guys how it runs more than me actually talking, but I still like chatting most of the time. I think I'm starting to get the track a little bit down. It seems like I can handle it a little better now. But it's time for us to move on.
Alright, FSR Ultra Performance benchmarks all finished here. And we got 97 minimum, 115 average, so we actually lost a frame, I think. And then we got maximum of 120. So now, let's go see how it does in the actual game itself. Well, alright, now we got some Ultra Performance FSR gameplay here, and it looks like absolute crap now. Like 640 by 480 kind of crap, almost. Not quite that bad, but that's got to be rendering at some pretty low resolution at this point. So low we actually, I think, lost performance. Because probably at a certain point, I feel like the CPU would have become a bottleneck if you go too low. The lower the resolution, the more the CPU has to do. Higher resolution, the less CPU has to do. Beyond its normal things that it has to do in the actual game. So it's not that you can take a CPU-dependent game, go forte, and just put a crap CPU in. That won't work. Trust me, I know. I had an FX 8320 and tried to play GTA 5, even with the 295X2 GPU, which was a badass GPU at the time. I could not maintain 60 in that game all the time, maxed out. Put a 2500K back in, and boom, I was getting 60 plus all the time, no matter what, at 1440p. So I wasn't even at 1080p. That was the most effed up part about it all. So that almost made me not like AMD at all ever again, but I'm glad I gave Ryzen a try, because Ryzen is awesome. And so is the GPU in this thing. But when I move into my new place, I'm definitely going to build a top-of-the-line Intel and NVIDIA computer and an all-AMD computer. I think I saw this cool table that you can put two systems in with some frosted glass that can become clear and also become frosty again at the flick of a switch. That would be so cool. Get some RGB to signify all red for AMD, blue and green for NVIDIA and Intel. Anyway, though, let's move on.
Well, now we are on Ultra Performance FSR, and there's a game in there somewhere in all these pixels, I assure you. But even though the graphics don't look great, I mean, I can still play. It is giving us 137 FPS with ray tracing on, so there's that. But no, I wouldn't want to play like this, but hey, it's an option for the people that do. Just because I don't like doing something doesn't mean it's not for everybody. That's exactly why I do all these, so everybody can see exactly how every possible setting can run on this thing. Ooh, I tried to turn it a little while braking. That's a no-no. You don't do that in racing. Front tires only like doing one thing at a time, which is the main reason front-wheel drive cars are trash for racing. At least for circuit racing. You can make them somewhat okay at drag racing, but not as good as all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, though. But you know what? Front-wheel drive is a cheap way to have fun. That's why hot hatches are so popular. I got 7 seconds off or something, I think. Anyway, though, why don't we wrap this video on up?
Well, alright guys, that is a wrap for F122, at least at 1080p on the laptop itself. And I have 8 hours left, so that's plenty for me to do the rest of the resolutions. I'm just gonna have to keep just doing the same race over and over again. It'll be a little boring, but at least technically it'll be better for test results, rather than jumping all over to different racetracks, different times of day and all that. But regardless, that's all I got for this video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and until the next one, peace out, guys.